Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hammer Podcast. Today is September 27th, 2021, and we are speaking with Robert. Robert went to Agape Boys Ranch from 2007 to 2012. We also have Cody and James with us today. It's nice to see you guys. It's been a while.
Definitely.
Been a long while. But
good to see you too.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel, share the videos, and that way we can get this circulated around YouTube. All right? So, Robert, go ahead and start from the beginning, my friend. Just let us know why you went there, what happened while you were there.
So I got sent there in 2007. I was adopted growing up. I was adopted from Russia when I was 3.
Okay.
I had 4 sisters, big family. And like the worst thing I ever did was like tell my mom I hated her, blah, 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 which every kid, every kid does that. And my family, I don't talk to my family currently, just because they haven't really supported me. And they don't, I guess I don't know what I expect from my family also. Not expecting anything for 5 years, 6 years. So I got sent there in 2007. I remember my dad, he actually flew me there, and then drove me to the school. We flew into Kansas City, and then we drove to the school. I don't remember too much of the beginning. I remember when I got there, they shaved my head right away.
Yep, same with me.
And they were talking to me, and all I could think about was like seeing my dad again. Not knowing that I'd be there until I was 18 when I was 12 years old. So I saw a lot of different things there. I saw people there obviously being abused. I was sexually abused there, physically abused, a whole bunch of different things. I don't know if Cody wants to comment or not.
Yeah, man. When you mentioned the part about when you first get there, like, I know what you mean, like being 12, 13. I know Bailey knows this feeling too. Like, you get there, they tell you that, oh, you don't know when you're going to go home. You're going to be here for a while. Your parents sent you here because you did this and you did that. And like the feeling of getting there and being so young and not knowing when you leave is just so like mentally damning. That I know when I first got there, like I didn't know how to deal with myself. Like I was just scared and frightened and just really shook up. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, and you always like, I remember too, like being there, like you always, I don't know how you guys were, but like for me, I kept thinking that it was a temporary thing. I'm like, my family just put me here to scare me. Like they're going to be coming back in a week from now.
Yeah.
Like they'll be back for me. And then, 1 week turned into a month and turned into years and turned into, it's like, oh man, they're not coming back.
Yeah, definitely.
That's crazy.
So like when you first got there, like, who was your guide, and like was he a nice guy, or did he just power trip and make your life a living hell? Or
I vaguely remember my guide. I think my guide's name was Isaiah. Yeah, and he was definitely power trip. In the sense that I was always getting some type of physical workout. Like nonstop, just because I was 12 years old. I had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really. Everyone knows me. When I was there, I was always in trouble, almost, just because I had so much energy. Not like for anything per se, bad.
Yeah.
Just like I didn't know how to contain my energy.
Yeah.
You were a teenager, man. You were a teenager.
Yeah.
Or a preteen. Basically, you were 12, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you're a preteen.
Man.
So, preteens and teenagers have a lot of energy. They suppress it. You can't do that.
Yeah. Like, I remember during my time when I first got Oscar, who's name has come up, like he would like literally power trip like on me all the time. Like I remember during Bible reading, sometimes I'd look off, look around, you know, and like each time that I do that, he'd give me 10 sets of push-ups per, and sometimes I'd get 100 in the shower bay. Sometimes, like if I was talking when I'm not supposed to, he would grab me and slam me up against the wall, start yelling in my face, and like just stupid shit, like just like that would just happen, and staff would allow it to happen because each staff member, like when you're there, there's one staff member on each side of the bay that you're on in each company. So like it was definitely seen, and like when they would see it, they wouldn't report it or do anything. They would just sweep it up.
No, they encouraged violence there. I remember. I can't tell you how many students that the staff would encourage us to beat them up, because they didn't want to do it, and because the students had a disagreement with them, or they knew no one liked them, or when they were supposed to be protecting us, the kids, they were instead antagonizing the situation and making it worse. Like, for example, I know Cody, there were staff members there that told us to beat you up personally.
Yep.
It's not a secret.
And there would be staff members like Steve, Jackson, Trainer, just like they would use like certain students that were high up or just had high ranking or favored. They would use them to like kind of make the students' life a living hell, or just physically and mentally abuse kids, which was really sad. Like, and I know the names on top of my head. I don't want to say their names, but they know who they are. But yeah, it was just so messed up on so many levels.
Yeah, and it's been going on for a while, right, James?
Oh yeah. 30 years.
Yeah.
30
years. Yeah.
Even when James was there, they were doing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it seems like more prominent with like when I was there, they weren't necessarily like the staff weren't encouraging the students to beat each other up. They would just like let it go on, you know, like if like you were acting up, like, and some other student was just upset with you, they just started throwing blows at you. Like the staff would kind of gradually stand up slow and like kind of walk over there and like, hey, stop it, you know, type of thing, you know. But like what you're saying with the power tripping stuff, like just like people are like understanding like what that is. Because I had a power tripping buddy as well, but people might not understand that when they're watching this. Like what do you mean by like power tripping? Like what would they do? Like more specifically, so people understand what it is.
Who, Cody or me?
Or either one of you? Yeah, either one.
Cody, you can go first.
Oh, so with the power tripping part, so when a guide would power trip or a staff member would, they would basically find like very little things, or if there was something wrong, they would give you 10, 20 push-ups, probably sometimes sets were 100, 200, 300. Or if like, let's say if the student wasn't like wanting to do the push-ups, then they would get restrained, slammed, put on the wall, having to do a very intense workout, go to Browntown, which I guarantee has been on here like tons of times.
Right.
Like basically just abusing like some type of power that they've had. And they had a lot of power when you're a teen there, like you don't have any parents, you have nobody to go to. So just like them like forcing their will on you. Like, and it's just none of that school is, nothing's good about that.
Right. I think the thing too is like people think that just because we got sent there, we were bad kids. To some extent, but they assume when the staff were punishing us, or being punished, that they're hearing these stories. They're like, oh, you must have done something for them to do that. But it's like, you know, it's not like getting like hundreds of push-ups, having to do those because you
did something very little.
Yeah, you looked up from reading your Bible during Bible reading time. There was a noise, and you looked up from reading your Bible, and your buddy's like 25 push-ups. He's like, what? Like what did I do? Oh, 50 push-ups. What?
You're resisting?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I didn't do anything wrong, man. It's like, okay, 100 push-ups now, and you're like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing wrong? Like, but to your point, like they have that complete control, and it's not like you can go to somebody and be like, hey, I want to report my buddy for, you know, my guide for being a jerk. right? Like, because then if you did that, you get more trouble. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. What about like with you, Robert? Like when you're saying your buddy was your guide was power tripping on you?
Oh, I would say finding any small thing, just looking for small things, like not punishing someone because they actually did something wrong, but just examining that person and like watching intently to see if they do anything wrong, and the slightest thing that's probably not even wrong, you get punished for. That's what I would say for the power tripping.
And staff did that too.
Oh yeah, staff. Some of the guides there who were there after a while or tried to like buddy up with the staff. It was definitely a partnership almost between some of the students and staff about the power tripping. I remember so many kids there trying to kill themselves. Remember, we had a span where kids were just drinking bottles of Germex. I remember a kid.
That was Max, sorry.
It wasn't just one kid, it was multiple kids.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot.
I tried killing myself there. I remember a kid flung himself down the stairs in a suicide attempt. A kid hung himself from the top bunk.
That was McToon. You remember that? Because
I remember. And we didn't get to receive any professional help. Oh,
yeah. Right. So
pray to Jesus. That's your professional help.
Yep.
So after a kid legitimately tried to kill, like a kid, we're not talking like an adult here, tried to kill themselves. No. There was no help. There was no, like, it was an actual act of suicide. That they didn't do counseling. They didn't
No. Dude, when this kid first got there, that McToon kid, he had like all over his arms, he had like razor cuts everywhere. And you could tell like this kid was mentally off. And like 3 days into, I think, when he first got there, like all of a sudden, like we just hear a thump, like, and we just see him like literally around his neck, the blanket, like trying to kill himself. And like they just punish him, put him in Browntown, put him in scrubs, and just make his life miserable instead of like actually helping him. With his problems.
That was gonna be my next thing. Is like, because when I was there, same thing. Like you get put on suicide status, so they would take your shoes away. They would take you.
I was on that.
You walk around your underwear in a bathrobe, but even the bathrobe, they didn't give you the tie string for the bathrobe to keep it shut because you can kill yourself with it. So you're walking around in your underwear in a bathrobe, no shoes, like it's completely because you try to kill yourself instead of like trying to help you and like really like deal with the problems at hand. It's like, oh man, no, you're gonna get punished. You need Jesus.
Hey, Buckland. Oh, sorry about that. Do you remember? You remember that really old guy, Brother Good or whoever? They had like every like Tuesday and Thursday. Like he was this really old pastor, like probably 90 years old, and I'd say that was.
Yeah, I vaguely remember him.
Yeah, they would use him to like deal with students like myself or students that like
the more problematic students.
Yeah, and he would just basically just show Bible verses. If you trust in Jesus, if you put your life to the Lord, then all your problems will go away. Like that was literally the counseling that was there. Trust.
Did it work?
Not for me.
I'm not trying to knock it, but I mean it's like
I shouldn't even have to answer that question.
I don't know, man.
I know. He's walking over there, hail Satan.
I know.
Doesn't work. James, you know that.
I know. And some of these questions I ask, it's not for me to hear because I know the answers to them, but it's like for other people to hear it, Someone else is hearing like, oh, they have read Bible verses and they prayed for the suicide. Oh, like, how did that kid turn out? You're like, well, he killed himself when he got out of the boarding school. Well, shit, I guess prayer didn't work very much.
He didn't follow the Lord. He didn't do what we said.
Yeah, right? It's like, oh, man, I didn't know that there was, because, like, for my time there'd be, like, one kid maybe once every, like, 6 months that would try to kill themselves or talk about suicide or I hate my life. Like, this sounds like there was, like, quite a few people in a span of, what, like 6 months or something that tried killing themselves. Like what was it, like a suicide pact, or like what was that?
No, it wasn't a suicide pact. It was just kids
that
being
were
pushed
depressed
to
and
the.
needed help.
Huh? What are you saying, Cody?
Oh, sorry. Kids that were really depressed and needed help, and they just had nobody to go to. And unfortunately, the staff made the lives even more miserable for kids that had those problems.
So they were drinking this Germ-X stuff like that. I mean, that's poison. Like that would land you in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't report any of this stuff to the state, like the suicide attempts. Or I remember
Interesting.
there was a certain doctor in town. I'm not going to say his name.
Oh, Dr. Death. Dr.
Death. I know lots of students that were taken to him for being hurt by staff members there during a restraint or God knows what. And he never filed reports with the state about it. So it's all... Huh?
Oh, this is a good time. You remember the mulch restraint?
Oh, I remember the mulch restraint as if it was yesterday.
Yeah, so like this kid, like we were in Sunday school, right? So it was mulch, and coincidentally enough, Oscar, who was my first guide, they were messing around in Sunday school. They were laughing and talking, and Ma'am comes up because Ma'am, like after every Sunday school for like fucking 30, 40 minutes would just talk about herself or just talk to the students, kind of like, and she just gets up and she's like, I saw you laughing, or I saw you two laughing the whole time. Y'all are just messing around. Y'all don't care. Y'all are disrespecting the Lord and yada, yada. And they're still like messing around. And I just remember fucking Trainer just fucking grabbing Mulch and taking him to the back. And they were talking, and Mulch said something that like Trainer literally just grabs him, puts him down on the floor. You just hear a big slam. And then I just see Dumore, I see Jackson, I see Steve, I see Lopez, and one other staff member, I can't remember. They're literally just manhandling this kid like down the intake room. You could hear slams, his fucking head knocking on the stairs, fucking him screaming.
You could hear him screaming during the church service. Like you could hear him screaming for help.
Like literally just in pain, like needing help. And like I remember when we came back from free time, fucking like we just saw him sitting in a chair. Like he barely could walk. He had back problems. Like every time I would see him moving, like he was in pain. Like bro, like that kid got the fuck beat out of him. Whatever happened in that intake room, like that kid got like destroyed.
Well, that's one of my problems too, though. I've spoken with all the authorities that you can think of, and I asked them this question. I mean, there was so much public outrage for the George Floyd restraint.
Right.
That was 9 minutes, and that was to a grown adult. Imagine that happening for hours to someone who's 12 years old, 13 years old.
15, 16.
Where's the outrage with that? I mean, we know it's been confirmed that it's been going on.
Right.
So
religious institutions are tricky.
Yeah.
Because if you do something about it, the religious people are going to say, "See, you're doing it because your civil liberties or whatever are being violated. You're doing it because they're Christians or whatever." And if you don't do anything about it, you have the other side saying, "Hey, these people are doing this. Why don't you do anything about it?" They're caught right in the center. And of course, you also have to know that the Christian right is quite a big chunk of the voting population too when it comes to those kind of states. So they're not really worried about you guys.
No.
They're worried about if they're going to keep their jobs and if you're going to vote for them.
Or if the state is going to shut it down or like come in and like do something.
Yeah, exactly.
And also with that, speaking on that too, like a lot of parents are like convinced too, like nothing ever happens. Like my parents, like they were just like, oh, they're Christian. They're here to help you. You got sent here because of this. And they're just so like brainwashed and so hellbound that like nothing like this ever happens.
Right.
Like, and my parents, when after I came on this podcast, just telling them stuff that I like repressed for 10 years, they were just so like shocked, like just like, oh, I thought you got help, but have you noticed that like within the years, like I've been struggling with depression, I've been struggling with this and that, like, and this is the only time where I can speak about it, when everybody's speaking out about it and coming forward.
Right.
And yeah, just point out that like that's definitely a huge issue. I think with kids there now, I can't imagine with all this shit coming out on the news and like just all these podcasts, like parents just still comfortable with their kid being there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's that they're comfortable. I think a lot of them don't know still. And I know eventually more and more we'll find out, like, especially during the holidays, you know, Googling the school about visiting and blah, blah, blah. And then it's on every major news outlet in the country almost. It was the latest story was in the Associated Press, which, I mean, is global. So hopefully that brings some more awareness. I know the governor's office, I spoke to them today. They understand that there's a lot of media around it right now, and it's something that they can't ignore.
No.
And if it's something they wanted to ignore, they can't anymore.
Yeah.
Just because of all the attention. And what attorney general do you know has ever done this ever?
Yeah.
Literally, none. I've spoken with multiple reporters that say the same thing.
Well, like you said, you know, they wait till it becomes a bigger story, more kids get hurt, and then they decide to do something about it. But right now, you know, like the old saying, strike it while the iron's hot. Get it done now, because I mean, it's gaining a lot of traction. And I heard something about some guy named Gaither. I haven't read the full story on him yet, but
he's a local prosecutor. I've spoken with him a couple of times, and a lot of people want to say he's connected to the school, and he might be, but there's no actual hard evidence. I think he's just a stubborn old man who is standing up to the attorney general in the sense that, I mean, he's older. I mean, what's he got to lose, you know?
Yeah.
But I think now also that he's got to be doing something, because last week when he spoke to me, he said he'd be filing today. No charges were filed today. So I think his hand is being forced, whether he turns it over to the attorney general or he does something else. I mean, that's honestly the best case scenario, is that he turns it over.
Yeah.
And I think the governor is going to be making a public statement actually this week about it. So I hope so.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you, Buck, what staff members stood out that were probably the most abusive? And I wasn't here for him, but I just heard like story after story while I was there, how Brian was like.
You know, when Brian was there, I'm sure James can attest because he was there like I was for him. I mean, I would want to be, whenever I saw Brian, I would go to the opposite side of the room. You never knew how he would be. He would be all right 1 second, and then the next second he'd be having a student pinned up against the wall, or, you know, you didn't know. So you were like almost like you just didn't even want to be in that situation.
Yeah. He'd get mad. Like, he'd play sports with the kids. Like, we'd play basketball. And if like he was getting beat, even in basketball, he would get so pissed off. It's like, say a kid like juked him, whatever. He'd be like, oh, well, you ran into me, and like start shoving the kid or whatever. Like he'd seriously, like, that guy, man. It just the fact knowing that he's back there at the school, like after he's been removed, how many times like they've had him leave because of issues and because of behavior. They tried giving him his own boarding school to run, and that was
oh my God.
That was riddled with issues. You know, like You talk to the guys that left Agape and that they chose to go to this Trinity school that he was running. They talk about how it was hell on earth. Like it made Agape sound like a freaking like summer camp, you know. And it's like after all this, and now he's back at the school. You know, is even his own family recognizes that he's probably not a good person to be running at school and being overseeing kids and stuff. It's like that.
Oh, he's definitely not a good person to be running the school. I mean, yeah, as you said, how many times has his own parents kicked him out of the school from running it? And what blows my mind is that he's not even one of the people expected to be charged by the local prosecutor next week,
dude,
or this week.
Crazy.
It goes like insane with almost the householders, how they opened up their own school, but before they worked at Agape, like where do you think they learned that they could get away with all of this? Do you think they just opened up a girls' school and said, hey, let's abuse girls? No, that's not how it worked. They were abusing kids at Agape. They saw that other people were doing it too and getting away with it, and the state didn't care.
Right.
And here we are today, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember them being there, like learning the gist of how to run. Well, I've said it multiple times. I remember them, Agape was said, this family's going to come here because they want us to open up their own school. And we're going to teach them how to run a boarding school so they can go open their own school. Now look at where they're at.
Yeah, look at how that turned out.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. You know, it's like, gosh.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Brian it's got a serious anger management problem, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember being restrained by him for what felt like hours at a time. Just, you got all these people on top of you, and the only thing that you're doing is crying.
How old were you?
12.
When this happened, 12 years old?
Yeah, I was 12 when it happened.
12 years old.
And restraining me. I think it was Trainer and Jackson too on me, and they're just, you know, squeezing your pressure points and like trying to throw you around in the room. And I'm a scrawny little kid. What am I? You really think I'm fighting back? I'm just crying. And I remember one time I was being restrained in the padded palace, and the staff members had walkie-talkies there. And I remember my dad calling me, and they're on the walkie-talkie saying, "Oh, Mr. Buckland just called." And I was like, I was hoping like that would get me out of my restraint, but it didn't. I was just getting restrained longer, and like they told my dad that I was busy doing something, and because I could hear them on the radio saying, "Hey, tell Mr. Buckland that Robert's busy and he can't get to the phone."
So you're being restrained with a bunch of grown men on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I don't know if you remember this because it's kind of like stretching your memory here, but like they're supposed to use restraint when you're endangerment to yourself or endangerment to those around you. I mean, did you grab a kitchen knife and try to kill somebody? Like,
no, I've never tried to hurt anyone in my life.
Yes, okay, well that sums it up right there. You know, like, I mean,
talking back or pissing off a staff member, probably.
Yeah, like what like that's the thing is like once again like having people that watch this understand what got you to the point where you had 5-6 grown men on top of a 12-year-old boy holding him down and pushing pressure points for hours at a time while you're screaming. Like what got you to that point? You know, like if you can remember it, you know, because some people might be thinking, oh, maybe you tried to hurt somebody, tried to do something, but maybe you just drank too much water at the drinking fountain, you know, or something like that.
Honestly, I don't remember the specific situations like what led up to me getting restrained. I know every single one of them was not fair in the sense that there's no justification in my head that knowing me at the time that I would have done anything bad. I remember, I think this happened when you were there, Cody. It happened in front of the whole school. I was getting my hair cut in the school.
Oh, Hajini?
Yeah, Hajini took the cord for the hair cutters and wrapped it around my neck and tried strangling me. He got suspended for 3 days from the school.
Yeah.
But I mean, it literally happened in front of the whole entire school.
Suspended. Sounds like Sounds like attempted murder to me.
Yeah, Cody, you were there for that, right?
Yeah, I was. And to speak on Hajini, like, I don't know what led him up to, like, coming back. He was a former student, I think, when you were there, Griffey. Like, so he, like, came on staff. He was, like, really cool with, like a majority of kids. But like, if you caught him, like, at the wrong time, or I just think sometimes he was on something. Like, a lot of us students knew that, and also how he got fired. But students, like, it was reported marijuana, and I heard cocaine. Like, Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't know exactly what happened. I know something in that nature happened, but yeah, he would like I don't know. He would like trip, and like he would just force his will. Like, let's say fuck, or like I've seen him like scream on the top of his lungs at a kid just for something fucking stupid.
Sounds like he's bipolar.
Oh yeah, he was.
There's a lot of staff members that are like that. Jack.
There was another time he cut my hair, Cody. I don't know if you remember this either. And he actually only cut half of my head. And I was forced to walk around with half of my head shaved for like a week almost.
So this was a staff member, or this was just like some
green shirt staff member? Yeah,
it was a staff member.
3 years. 3 years.
green shirt staff member took the cord from clippers and wrapped it around your neck to strangle you.
Yeah, and there was marks at the time.
I mean, they must have called your dad and had him let him know what's going on.
No, I mean, that's the funny thing too is I tried to tell my parents in a letter what had happened.
Oh shit!
But obviously, for people that don't know, all our letters and phone calls were either read or monitored beforehand. So whenever something bad happened at the school, and I was sexually abused at the school, and I reported it, and you would automatically think, if it was your kid, wouldn't you want the school to be calling you, even if it was an allegation?
Right.
And there was no corroborating evidence. At the time, there was corroborating evidence, but hey, they never called my family. And when I tried reporting all this stuff that had happened there, I wasn't able to. So people asked me, like, why didn't you say anything? Well, I did, you know, but the people that I said something to weren't really there looking out in my best interest or helping me.
Yeah.
That assault, was it student or staff member?
Student.
Student.
For what?
He was a student when Griffey was there in the 90s.
What assault are you talking about, Jason?
I'm sure.
The sexual assault.
The sexual assault was a student, and I reported it to the dean of students, Mr. Jackson, and he they did an investigation.
Yeah. Okay. Investigation.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, they did whatever you want to call it. I was expecting, to be separated from the guy, or for my family to be notified, or like I thought my family was notified, just automatically.
Mm-hmm.
But no one ever knew, and it happened again. And after that, that's when I would just hang out with Cody or Bailey. Like anytime I was around that student, I would just like automatically try to go in that different direction, or hang out with the general population, or with one of my friends there.
Yeah, shout out Bailey, man. Like,
what's weird is the Baptists, when it comes to homosexual activity, that's an abomination. That is a no-no. They should have done something about it. You know what I mean?
But also at the same time, Jason, that they're very much on image as well. So, if that got out that like homosexual stuff was happening at a fundamental independent Baptist school, like if that got out, like that would, what I'm saying? Like, I think they're more worried about, your
reputation. Yeah. Reputation.
Exactly. And like the fact that it happened, and their parents finding out that it happened, then it's like, wait a second, I thought you were watching my kid. I thought I was paying you thousands of dollars a month to watch my child. how did this happen to them? So it's like all this. It's like, nope, we got to keep this under wraps. It's like, and then the fact that they didn't separate you from that person, and it happened again. It's like they're you're a child. They're adult. They should be protecting you, but also they're getting paid by your parents to protect you, and none of that was happening. And then they just swept it under the rug, and here we are. What, like how many years later? Like, crazy.
And I wasn't the only one there. I can't comment, but I saw. I mean, a lot of the stuff I saw. I mean, it just blows my mind that a school like that is still open, and there was a clear pattern, a 20-year pattern at least of abuse. I mean, when the state of Washington was investigating them, all of a sudden their school burned down, and they moved to Missouri, and the investigation was closed. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm also not an idiot.
Yeah.
Anyone with common sense can put 2 and 2 together and say, okay, a fire happened during an investigation of abuse, and all of a sudden everything got destroyed, and the school is moving out of state.
Surprised they didn't pull that shit again. Like, if you looked at the history of Agape and how many fires they've had, it's really interesting. Like, I'm surprised they didn't pull that shit again. And they're watching this right now. They're like, "Oh shit, it's a great idea!" And then
Thanks, Griffey. Thanks, Griffey. You just gave him the idea.
I remember
take that out of the video, please, Jason, because I know that I've heard that they watch these, dude. I've heard from
let them
people there that they watch these.
Yeah.
I hope they do watch them. I hope the fear of God is. I hope they're Satan watching this.
And the thing with Brian, you can polish a turd. Brian, I'm talking to him if he's watching. You can polish a turd, but it's still a turd, man. I tell you, you're a piece of shit.
Bud. Hey, you remember I told you about on the last podcast I shined in on Steve Bryan's dad? What's funny is like I think 2 months later, I was just going through a lot of mental shit, like especially PTSD and stuff that I went through when I was there. I messaged Steve via Instagram. I have the messages, but
you shared him with me, and he apologized. Steve.
Yeah, he apologized and admitted that he was wrong, and like I was just like, I don't know if I can like maybe I'll fully forgive you someday on the stuff that you did to me, but this stuff is out now, and many people are speaking out against your grandparents, especially your dad. Like, the shit's out, like. And I have the messages that I could send you over. I think it's
a little late for forgiveness,
Yeah.
I know, it's like you let this happen for so long, and all this stuff. Thousands of kids go through the school, and now that's the thing. Now it's coming to light. It's like, oh no, we're sorry. We want forgiveness now. It's like, how did this?
That motherfucker. He was not fucking that way when I was there. He had me pinned to the fucking ground, his foot on my back, yelling in my fucking face, making my life a fucking living hell because I was fucking grinding. Nah.
Because you're what?
He had me on the fucking ground in push-up position with his leg on my back, fucking like yelling in my face, saying that he's gonna restrain me if I keep on falling down. Obviously, that there's a lot of stories with that motherfucker, and like.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just sadistic. He just loved seeing me cry. I know Buckland remembers that. Like, they're just sadistic, man. They want to see you like in pain and like just struggling and like.
Yeah. Just the other day, I had a former staff member of that school message me, saying, "Why are you asking me?" In my opinion, he was asking me why I'm speaking out. And do I need drug money? And the fact, like, am I trying to buy drugs? No, I have the messages. I've posted some of them. I shared them with some people. He's telling me in the messages, same messages saying that the Attorney General has his phone bugged. So anything I tell him is whatever. I don't know. He just completely lost it and telling me the only reason my family adopted me was for a tax write-off. So even though I'm 27 now and I'm not even at the school, they're still like continuing to text me. And I believe this guy's a pastor of a school or a pastor of a church now. He doesn't work there. So I actually thought about posting it, his messages to me on his church's website.
Dude, you should, man. Like these guys are they're closet monsters, dude. Like they have this image that they're great and they're doing these great things for children and they're helping us out. But it's like, it's wild. Like I had a call with I won't say his name, that he'll know who I'm talking about when he watches this. But I had a call with someone who's like is very close with the Clemson family, and he was explaining things from his point of view, and like he even admitted, like he's from the Clemson family, and he was even admitting that like how Brian is and how things are and how the schools run and the abuse there and all this stuff. Like it was like, you know, they know what they're doing, you know?
Yeah. You know,
like what type of school that deals with kids? I can understand like famous people, but what type of school that works with kids makes all their employees sign an NDA?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little suspicious if you ask me. Like, what are you trying to hide?
You know what's funny is they haven't tried to text me at all. I got my number right on the YouTube page. I mean,
I wonder what they think of you.
Hey, they can do it because all they're going to get is a picture of my bare ass with two things like this. So go ahead, guys at Agape. Go ahead and text me. This is what you're going to get with my bare ass. Yeah.
Devil.
All right. Hey, hail Satan. That's right. Text me. I'm not afraid to talk.
They're gonna take what you said right there with Hell Satan and run with it and be like, oh, he's a Satan worshiper and like
that's
like stupid.
Hey man,
you remember during a church service, Altar would fucking get up and like just talk shit on students that didn't go to Bible college or still not in church or like.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Dude, I remember Altar used to fucking get up after the pulpit after a preacher or like fucking staff member preach, and he would just rip into students and rip into like the world, saying, "Oh, they're of the devil. They don't follow this path. If you don't follow this path, you're gonna fail. You're gonna go to hell. You're gonna end up on drugs and jail." And it's just like you put in that mindset of like being so fearful. If I even like think of a rock song, or if I like think of a dirty thought, like I'm going to fucking hell. Like just going to like fuck up, and it's just so like mentally damaging.
It's like I was talking I forget what newspaper it was, but they're asking me questions about like my time there, and when I told them I stayed on staff, like the girl's like, why did you stay on staff? Like after everything you went through, like why did you stay on? I was like, they had me so brainwashed, like everything you just said, they had me so brainwashed that Satan was out there around every corner just waiting for me to bring me to drug use and to prison, and like I was so afraid of the world that like I didn't want to leave. Like, but you're right, like that brainwashing. It's like
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, after being there for 6 years, and leaving, even today, like I'm still learning things about life that I should have learned a long time ago. It completely like messed up my train of thinking in the world. Like, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? Or this happened, or how do I do this? And I know Cody and I have spoken about it before, how he's been impacted by that too. Just the way of thinking after being there for so long, being told that, hey, your family doesn't care about you, or you're going to be a failure, or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Dude, I remember when I left, I was captain. I was head captain. I was the role model of the school. I remember the staff knew I was leaving. I remember there was one, I can't remember the staff member's name, but he wanted me to go to fucking an IFB church. He wanted me to go to Hiles Anderson or West Coast Baptist College. He wanted me to live this way, but I straight up told him, I don't want to live that way. And like they would that staff member would harass me on the daily because he knew I was going home, and like he knew that like, hey, can I get this kid to like kind of follow this way? But no. It is such a cult, it's ridiculous. If you don't follow what they say, you're gonna fail.
It is a cult. Definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
It is a cult.
Yeah, I remember there was one time where another student during the meal, I guess, he he actually stabbed another kid with a
That was-
fork in his neck. Yeah, remember that? He stabbed the kid in his neck with a fork.
Yeah, it's because the student that he did that to his name was Audrain, and he was just like this cocky kid on the basketball team, friends with Steve, friends with Jackson, Burton, and all that. And he would I think he had him as a buddy, and he would like pick on him and make fun of him and like call him like I hate to say this, but he would call him Indian, and he would just make fun of him, make his life a living hell until this kid just snapped, and he just like stabs him with a fork and starts going at him, and they're just restraining him for like fucking 3 or 4 hours, making his life a living hell, just because this guy just egged him on like for so long. Like
that's so like it's like sitting there just pushing the button over and over, pushing the button, right? Yep. And nothing's happened to the person pushing the button, but all of a sudden the kid snaps. Yeah. And now he's the one in trouble even more. It's like
you can only push somebody so far.
Yeah.
You poke the bear.
Yeah.
You're gonna get your ass handed to you. So
especially when you don't have people to talk to really address your problems,
Yeah.
It just builds up over time, and until something does happen.
Right. Or you get out of the school, right? You can't let it out there, and these kids, we get out of the school and we get into the real world, and now we have this freedom and we are able to let all this stuff out. It's like, no wonder so many kids leave that school and are like, failures in their eyes, drugs and prison or whatever. It's like, they couldn't express themselves. They couldn't whatever. They didn't deal with their suicide there. They didn't deal with any of their emotional problems. Nothing was dealt with there. And then they get back in the real world. Parents aren't paying tuition anymore, and they're left on their own, like figure out this shit that we call life.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, it sucks, dude, because that problem is a very real problem at that school, and I'm sure it still is. The kids there right now. I remember there, I tried drinking bottles of like different cleaning chemicals to try to kill myself. And I remember I would like cut my arms once in a while, but only like during winter, because we would have like the sweaters on or stuff to hide it. Even today, like I deal with depression problems. I see a therapist every week.
That's good, man.
But it's a very real thing that I don't think people talk about enough.
Yeah. And that's how they keep their congregation at the churches, because like I said, kids come in, yes, they have problems, some worse than others. And, they just, all they do, instead of helping them with the problem, they make it worse, and they make it worse. Finally, somebody snaps, they try to get you to go to their college or whatever. You don't do it. Then you leave. Then they tell their congregation, hey, I tried to help him, tried to get him to Jesus. He didn't, and now look what happened to him. See, this is what happens if you don't follow. That's what they do. And seriously, and the congregation is like, you know what? He's right. He's right. If we don't follow Jesus, we're going to end up like that kid. When, before that, the kid was already messed up, and you just made it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Now, Robert, I'm wondering, like, with and I hate to have to rehash it, but I'm just curious, but the attempts of suicide, did any of those ever, that you remember, land you in the hospital?
No, they should have, but like a psych ward, yeah, they should have.
No. I mean, like the actual, like, going to the doctor there in town, like, drinking the cleaning stuff, or at any point they take you?
No, I guess I never drank enough. So
thank goodness. So I'm thinking, like, there's got to be, if they did do that, like if they did bring in a child to the doctor for drinking, like that would be, there's got to be medical records of the shit. And if there's like 30 years of medical records, out of 30 years, there's been 200 kids that have been brought into that doctor for trying to kill themselves at school. Like there's got to be something. You know what I mean?
Well, there are records of it, and that's an angle that's being worked right now, actually.
It's a pattern. It's a pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, exactly. There are records. I can't really say anything about that.
Yeah, I can. That's okay. I was just wondering for you, like maybe like if that happened and then there'd be a record of it, but never mind then.
But I'm sure. Yeah, there was. I mean, I'm sure there was probably a couple people they had to take to the hospital during my time, right, Cody? That tried to kill him. I think there was a couple kids who drank the Germix who got taken to the doctor just because the reaction was so bad.
Bro, you remember, I probably mentioned his name, but Max, do you remember that kid? Like, he was the same age as me. He got there the same
I don't
time.
remember, honestly. Maybe.
Same with me. He had a lot of emotional issues. I remember in the shower bay one day, he had like this plastic, like, razor-looking thing, and he started to slice his fucking wrist one time when he first got there. And, like, I just remember, like, staff, like, just punishing that kid and restraining the fuck out of him. And, like, that kid, when he first got there, he never really got any help. Instead, like, he was just picked on all the time, like, punched in the stomach, ridiculed, like. And I just saw a picture of that kid on Facebook probably not too long ago, and he just doesn't look good, I'll just say. I've seen him, like, post him wanting to kill himself and him having all kinds of issues. And
there was a kid there, Cody, you don't remember, named Bowie.
Bowie. Oh, I wasn't there for him. I know who. I think I know who you're talking about. Was he?
Yeah, like, I mean, he was a little bigger. So when he got there, they actually like put him on a forced diet. Like he was only allowed to have like he was on food restrictions. I can't honestly remember. What's that?
Salad diet or peanut butter sandwiches.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, and I don't want to like. Yeah, and the staff there would encourage us to like beat him up because they found it funny. Or
yeah,
I remember that specifically actually.
Bro, you remember Chris? Or Chris, my bad. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, he was like a little Guatemalan kid, like 12, 13 years old, and like. He would get called gay every day, like, and he'd be humiliated by staff and students, and like behind closed doors, there'd be staff and students like literally taking advantage of this kid like sexually. And then when the stuff comes out, like they just ship him off. Like nobody knows where he is. Like I know Bailey's.
Yeah, no one's been able to find him. And there's this guy named I told James about this. There's this guy named Bradley. Who I don't know if this is true or not. This is it's what I've been told, so it's my opinion on it. He was dropped off at the school when he was like very young, and knowing that his family was never going to be there for him. And according to some reports, which I'm trying to find him, the staff would take him out of his dorm 2 to 3 nights a week and sleep with him. And he'd come back to the dorm in the mornings crying every time he came back. So, I mean, you put 2 and 2 together. I remember there was a kid named Kevin who ate his own shit there just to be shipped away to, like, a mental facility. He literally ate was playing with his own feces and started eating it so the school would send him away, which they did. We never heard from him. I've never been able to find him.
Yeah.
And yeah, who knows if they really sent these kids away either.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't find them.
No, I remember after too. I think this was after you left. There was this kid named Luke, and he was. I don't know if he had like autism or some type of disability, but he just wouldn't speak at all.
He was younger, wasn't he? He was like.
He was just like this kid that just, you could tell had something mentally wrong with him, and he didn't need a place like Agape. I don't know if
no, he was like 10 years old, 11 years old.
Yeah. Scott like told his parents like, oh yeah, we can help a kid like that, but that kid got the shit beat out of him every day, and like just for being different, like and
he was a good kid.
Yeah, he seemed like a good kid. Like, he would just never talk, and, like, he would just get the shit beat out of him by his guide. I remember there was this scenario where Jackson, this is what I heard from many students, and I remember this. Jackson literally grabbed, like, 5 students. One of his guides' name was Huffman, and they grabbed him and took him to the shower bay, and they were just fucking wailing on this kid, and Jackson was watching it. And allowing it to happen, and ever since then, I never heard from him again. people say that he like got sent to an insane asylum, but this kid had like bruises, like big black bruises. Anybody that remembers this kid remembers when he would take his shirt off, he had bruises all over his body. And like, man, I feel bad for that kid.
And you said he was like 12 years old?
No, he was like 16, 17.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of different.
Like, he was literally like mentally not there. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, like I said, if he had autism or just some type of disability that he's just not sociable with humans, but that kid he would just get wailed on all the time just because he was different. And staff would allow it. And
Agape, like they advertise that they take care of that kind of stuff, you know, or at least they used to, that they take care of those behavioral problems and like, you know, learning issues and all this other stuff. Like, because, you know,
I remember there was a student, Malsh, actually, Cody, same guy. It was like, I think every morning we woke up at 6 a.m.
Yep.
I think he was in bed still at 6:01. And so there was a staff member named Lopez. Who picked him up out of the top bunk and slammed him on the ground.
Jeez.
Just for waking up, like not being out of bed by 6 o'clock when the lights came on.
Yeah, I remember. You probably remember the Stoddy. Like, I think he was like acting up or something, and I remember staff just yanked him out of his bed and slammed him on the fucking dorm floor, just for fucking something stupid, like just probably just goofing off or just making loud noises. But
yeah, I remember so many nights that I had trouble falling asleep. I remember so many nights that I would have trouble falling asleep and like just chatting with the bunkmate or whoever was next to me. I remember so many nights that Mr. Graves would make me sleep on the blue mat, which is like not even, it was probably like a centimeter thick mat that you sleep on with nothing but like one cover on the ground.
In the front, facing the staff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that blue mat was so uncomfortable. I'd rather sleep on the ground than sleep on that.
I'd rather sleep on nothing than sleep on the blue mat.
Yeah, it was so uncomfortable. I don't know what it was, but yeah.
Well, it's not supposed to be comfortable, Cody.
No. You would think that a blue mat compared to the ground would be uncomfortable. If something made that blue mat like so uncomfortable, you wouldn't want to sleep on it. I don't know what.
Yeah, it was a portable blue mat. So whenever they restrained someone outside, and like they slammed them into the asphalt or the rocks or whatever, they would call for the blue mat, and you would be transferred from whatever surface you were on onto the blue mat.
They had a portable padded palace.
Yeah, no, literally. Do you remember that, Cody, or no?
Yeah, I remember sometimes when like students, like let's say on rock hauling crews, if like let's say a kid was goofing off or not hauling rocks, I remember like they would like give them out push-ups and force them to do that shit, and then they would call on the radio, grab some staff, we're gonna restrain them, and they would just slam a fucking kid down on the ground like during rock hauling crews and fucking yeah. I don't know if they brought out the blue mat, but I do remember some instances where like like we'd be in the backfield or we'd be hauling rocks or somewhere outside, and a kid would just get restrained there.
We got about 3 minutes left. If you guys want to kind of just have a ending statement of some sort.
How are you doing now?
Yes, great
How
question.
How are you doing now?
Who, me?
You, yeah.
I'm getting ready to go to work. I work at the hospital. I work night shift.
Yeah.
So I'll be going to work after this. But no, I'm doing good. I won't rest until that school is shut down.
Yeah.
We've made a lot of progress. I know James and Amanda, and there's been people that have worked longer than me on this and harder than me. I've only been doing this for the last month and a half, but every day I make phone calls. Today I spoke to the U.S. District Attorney about this, and they're aware of the situation, and the FBI has an open case. Whether what happens with that or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I hope they would want to get involved and that the right thing is done at the end of the day.
Great.
Because even with all these allegations, so let's say the local prosecutor only charges 7 people with 14 charges. Even though the attorney general recommended 70 charges against 22 staff, how is that school still open? Aren't those under the new law passed? It says specifically, HB 557 says any school suspected of abuse, not convicted, not charged, but it says any school, like I was going to say, any school that is
Suspected.
Yeah, suspected. Literally, that's what it says in the language of the bill, can be shut down by the state. So why is it still open? Is that not suspicion enough of child abuse, or
You follow the money. Follow the money.
They have a lot of it.
Oh, they do.
I think they have like, this is just an accusation or just thinking. I think they have like over probably 50 to 100 million. That's just me. I think they're loaded because they have a $500,000 RV. And do you remember the tin? I think it was like a 10-car garage with all those nice like classic 60s cars, 70s, like that nice red, I think 68, 69 Corvette, like
Jeez.
all that and all the properties they own, like.
Dude, and there's so many businesses. If you look at the city itself, like there's so many businesses that exist at that address. You know, like, and there's all like shell company. Like we have all that information. Like there's so much. Like you're right, Jason. You follow the money. Like it's all over, and they have it all. They think they have it all hidden, but
they don't.
Everyone has their eyes on them right now. So it's yeah.
All
more
right.
now than ever.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end the show. You guys stay on the line for a few minutes. All right.
All
right. Thanks, Robert, for being here.
Yeah, of course. I wish
Cody.
I could stay more in that. The next time we talked, the school shut down.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about it.
Yeah. Have a parade.
Drinks are on me.
Yeah.
So James, Cody, thanks for being here as well.
Yeah, thanks James and Cody for joining and helping out.
The support system. Everybody out there, please subscribe to the channel. We are doing this on Monday or Wednesday. There's a link I'm going to put in the description. All you got to do is go to that link, pick the day you want. Just send me a text. The number's on top of the YouTube page, and we'll get you in. All right. So for the Hammer Podcast, I'm Jason. You take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll see you in the next podcast. All right.
All right.
All right.